Lesson 8. Dr. Nerenberg's Mind-Body Workout System.
Okay, my beautiful brothers and sisters who are in the room and those who are listening. This is going to be the most powerful of our meetings. I'm going to talk about a journey of the ultimate empowerment spiritually, emotionally, and physically. I'm going to describe the details of it and give you an honest account of the journey to this day. It's charged with a lot of emotion for me because it's been so beautiful and so powerful. About 5 weeks ago, or 6 weeks ago, my doctor felt a nodule on my prostate, which ultimately turned out to be prostate cancer, which I had removed this last Wednesday. And I want to share the mind-body workout with the spirituality and dealing with the cancer and talk about the enormous empowerment and how positive that experience has been and continues to be. I don't want to turn away from some of the dread or some of the negative effects, but overall, extremely powerful. And the power thought that I took to deal with, once I had a biopsy and was ascertained for certain that I had prostate cancer, my power thought was, thank you, Lord. Please empower me spiritually, emotionally, and physically from this situation, from this cancer. Thank you, Lord, for empowering me spiritually, emotionally, and physically from this situation. I'm extremely grateful, Lord. And I just kept repeating that over and over and over again, fully expecting that empowerment would happen. And it has. And I'm going to describe each detail of the tremendous upliftment that has occurred in the purity of the spiritual upliftment, the emotional upliftment. There was a point where there'd be a little spot where we didn't know if it was a cancer or not. And there's a little bit of dread. Gee, maybe that's what it is. But probably it's not. Then we found out, finally went to a biopsy and found out definitely it's cancerous. It's not super aggressive cancer, but it's aggressive, moderate to high. And not a little bit, but moderate amount that exists in the prostate. My prognosis is excellent because my PSA was low. Many medical factors around this. But I kept the power thought going. Thank you, Lord, for the spiritual, emotional, and physical empowerment that is occurring for me. So the journey itself was filled with amazing events and meetings of people. I had faxed the biopsy report to a number of doctors, and Dr. Alex Gershman actually called me personally. So when I went to see him in LA, I said, Dr. Gershman, it's amazing that you took the time out of your busy schedule to contact me. He said, well, one doctor can't help another. I mean, what good is it all? So we had this very positive connection. And then I saw on his board, VIP, he referred to me as one doctor helping another doctor. So I was very complimented by this. I was treated very well. But let me backtrack a little bit. When I found out that it tested positive, the biopsy tested positive, Dr. Pugash had been the one to give me that news. Now, the night before I was going to find out about the results of my biopsy, I had to overcome the dread, because one part of any kind of negative thing in life, whether you have a dread about a health thing or a relationship thing or a sports event or some setback that you're going to have, which is inevitable in life. When you have that dread, you feel that thing, you feel intimidated by what it could be. I was certainly could be intimidated by cancer. Who isn't? The word cancer is a big bugaboo in our society. So I had to face that intimidation. And the way I dealt with it, and it's not something I can recommend for everybody, but I came out and I said, the night before I was with a friend, now, I said, now, I hope it is cancer because I'll kick its butt. I'll rise above this. I hope it is. Now, did I mean that totally? I can't say. At the moment, I did. At the moment, I meant it. I said, I hope it is, because I'm up for that challenge. That was my journey to overcoming the intimidation. I was no longer intimidated. I would face the cancer. If I had to, I'd face the dying. I would face whatever I had to do, and I'm up for it. I can do it. 4 years early, I faced a heart attack. I dealt with that. Amazing journey. So I said that. So next day, I'm with Dr. Pugash in his office. And he says, oh, I tested positive. You have cancer. I said, oh, that's great. He said, that's great. I said, yeah, I love the challenge. He says, well, it's a challenge, but not that huge a challenge, because there's some good possibilities to this. I said, oh, that's great. I love that. I love the challenge. So that was the beginning. Now, in reality, there was a little numbing as he went over all the alternatives and so forth. The only period I had where I did feel stressed was not the idea of the cancer or even the possibility of dying. Those didn't stress me. But the stressful part was to figure out which procedure I would use. There's so many options. But once I met with Dr. Gershman, I knew this is the procedure to go to have the prostate removed with this process called robotic laparoscopic prostatectomy. It makes a minimal invasion. You take out the prostate and you're moving right along. So I had that done Wednesday, this last Wednesday. So there was one power thought. I hope it's cancer. I hope it is cancer. I'm up for it. So that was one on the journey. And I was empowered by that. Now, the night before I was going to have the surgery, I was in LA staying at the Sofitel Hotel, because that's walking distance to Cedars-Sinai. I just felt joyous. I was supposed to just eat fluids, not have solid foods. So I went to Jerry's Deli, had a great chicken broth. Just felt very up the whole time. Really feeling the spiritual enhancement that would be happening, the emotional enhancement. Sincerely feeling it. But I was really thinking, when it comes time to have the surgery, I thought I need a sedative, because I think at that point I was going to get to me. So I check in, we go in, I'm in the prep room, feel great, smiling, looking at everybody with a lot of love and compassion, felt great. Now, for 15 years, I've always told every doctor this statement, that when I give my symptoms, I always add this symptom. I say, doc, I have another symptom. That is, after I eat, I lose my appetite. I've seen doctors write it down. Doctors look at me and go, really? Puzzled. And then I say to doctors, that's a joke. Yeah, and then they laugh. No one 15 years ever got it. We're talking white doctors, black doctors, Hispanic doctors, Jewish doctors, Christian doctors, Muslim doctors. Over 15 years, no one's ever gotten it. Nobody. So there I am with my anesthesiologist, Dr. Lee, Chinese doctor. I told him my symptom, I lose my appetite after I eat. He just cracked up laughing. The first guy to get it was Dr. Lee, Chinese doctor, anesthesiologist. He was laughing and laughing. So then, and this is very touching to me, it was very beautiful, because when it came time to roll me into the actual surgery room, Dr. Gershman insisted on rolling me himself. The nurse said, I'll do it. No. He just kept rolling me himself, put his hand on my shoulder at some point, just that connection between us. Rolled me in, they prepped me, boom, boom, boom. Next thing, you wake up, and then you had a little tracheotomy, you have a catheter, your prostate's gone. That's it. But as soon as I came out of the anesthetic, I started the mind-body work. As soon as I gained consciousness, I went, I'm fine. I started moving my hands so I could move. I'm fine. I'm extremely grateful, and my future is great. I'm fine. I'm extremely grateful, and my future is great. So as you know, there's the power thought, the consolidator, and the expander that we've talked about in the whole mind-body workout system. I went right into it. Right in. So they put me in recovery room for a little bit, brought me up to a beautiful suite. It was gorgeous, beautiful views. like a little living room area, the bed area. And I felt it was like a vacation. It felt great. I was in a weakened condition initially. Now, the connectedness, the tremendous emotional upliftment that happened. Let me go through the number of steps that's happened with that. One of the things that when my wife came to visit with my son and two of my daughters, my son was very insistent, Padam was very insistent that he spend the night with me to watch over me, which he had the option to do that. He really wanted to do that. And we already have a loving relationship. But I didn't want anybody there. I didn't want him. I didn't want my wife. I really wanted to be by myself. I didn't want to have to take into account anybody else's needs. But my relationship with Padam became enormously enhanced. I mean, it was amped up 100%. Because I'll never forget that he didn't just offer it, but he was fighting this. I got to spend the night. I got to spend the night. I got to spend the night. And so I'll never forget that. I call him my good boy. That'll never change. And there have been issues at times. There have been issues between us at times, but that overrides everything. The other thing I found happened was that the purity of the feelings, the purity of the thoughts would often move me to tears because they'd be so pure. And it was a good teariness. My two little daughters would see me crying, and I'd say, no, it's a good crying. It was the beautiful thing. They'd never seen me cry. But I wasn't crying out of sadness or pain. The beauty was so intense, so profound, so exquisite, that the only response to that kind of love, light, and beauty was tears, just as I had now, as I thought about that with Padam, the life-changing thing that took place between us. Now, in my life, I was very connected to my father, and he died 20 years ago. Mom died about 2 years ago. But I knew Dad's spirit, but I didn't know Mom's spirit real well. Well, one of the beautiful things that happened, I felt my mother's spirit because she had a long, slow death over 7 years, in and out of hospitals, and I'd be with her. And I felt that spirit towards of dealing positively with these situations. My mother could hardly do anything. She became very dependent. She would be in a wheelchair, not really mobile. And she would just see a flower, and she'd go, oh, look at that flower. Wow. She'd see a chipmunk. Look at that. And she would just watch them. So all she had was, in this room that she was in her home in Canada, was the amazement of seeing a chipmunk and seeing a flower. She told me the hardest thing in her life was going from being a very independent woman to being totally dependent. But nothing could take that away. Look at that chipmunk. Look at that. So, and I saw her going from one thing to another. And so my mother's spirit, I got to know my mother's spirit so much more intimately. I felt it in me and how I was dealing with things and the beauty of nature and the beauty of the human beings. So I was extremely connected to my mother's spirit. I felt I now know her much better than ever. Again, what's the theme? That these so-called adversities can be tremendous sources of empowerment spiritually, emotionally, and physically. That's the theme. Dying itself can be empowering. This is the only attitude of the warrior athlete, of the human being. Otherwise, you become a victim. You become in dread. You become intimidated. The only way to step up is saying, I'm empowered. I will arise and I will be given spiritual, emotional, and physical power from this situation. There's no other alternative. Otherwise, you're defeated. In life, we seek triumph over ourselves, over relationship problems, over sports issues, over occupational setbacks. We seek triumph to annihilate the enemy, to overcome the enemy. Of course, the enemy is mostly within ourselves. Oh, no, I'm not going to be intimidated by this. No, I'm empowered by it. And it's not just something I'm saying mentally. Now, I know my dear sister, mother, cousin, Flora, she couldn't believe how I was dealing with it. She said, "Are you denying something? Are you really mean this thing?" Because unbelievable. And I said, "Flora, no, I'm very honest when I'm nervous or this and that. No, it's true. I'm empowered and I feel great and I feel uplifted. And as a matter of fact, I feel better than I ever have, emotionally, spiritually, and I expect to be ultimately physically empowered by it." Of course, one of the little spin-off things that I brag about is that I became the strongest man in the world. My last lift about 7 weeks ago, 365 pounds, which has never been done in powerlifting history. I did it 4 years after a heart attack, and I did it when I had prostate cancer. I had prostate cancer when I made that lift. There you go. So it's another little thing that when I talk to CT about, I brag about, I say, whenever we talk, we always have to mention 4 years after a heart attack and with a prostate cancer. Now, my wife, realizing we've always been super close, Maheen and I, super close. But I got to see, and I've often called her a saint with attitude, because she doesn't put up with any negative things or whatever, kicks butt, so to speak, but she's saintly. I mean, she's totally devoted. And I expanded that title to something which I can't remember right now. But I saw the full devotion of Maheen, the full devotion. I knew that she would embrace this circumstance with myself. I knew that. There's always the possibility. I don't expect to have an erectile dysfunction, but this operation sometimes has that partially or fully as a side effect, although my procedure is less likely to. But she may be very comfortable with that. Whatever it was, she's devoted to me. So I have no real worry about it, and I'm sure everything will be operating well. But in all respects, her devotion to me, when I saw with such clarity who she is, her devotion, her faithfulness, her loyalty, her steadfastness, her perseverance, the full identity that I already knew, I knew more. I knew more, even the power. So I feel great. You get a catheter with this thing. I'm getting removed tomorrow. So I walk a little cautiously. I'm not picking up things. I asked some of you to pick up some things for me. Once that's out, I'm moving along. I'll be not lifting for 2 weeks, and I'm going to start moderate exercise. So the key is that all setbacks can empower us spiritually, emotionally, and physically, and gratitude is part of it. Whether it's a setback in a sports activity or a setback emotionally, physically, in whatever area. Okay, so that's basically what I can think of now. I will say this: when Dr. Gershman was saying goodbye to me, he was in a rush. He has to sit out of pace. I said, "Wait a minute, stop! I want you to." I took his hand. I said, "I want you to look in my eyes." And he stopped what he's doing. He looked at me. I said, "I'm grateful, and you have my loyalty." It was that moment of contact, and I let go of his hand, and he moved. My sense of love for everyone, for all my brothers and sisters, which I hope to never forget that love, and the expression of that love is there. I see myself expressing more love. I see a greater light in me. And as I welcomed you at the beginning, calling you my beautiful brothers and sisters, I meant that. So that sense of connection to my fellow human being is greatly enhanced. My sense of compassion. Well, this is just part of the journey. There are more parts that will come. And if you really absorb what I'm saying in this journey, then this will be an event, our talking together, that you'll remember all your life and will help you in all situations, as a human being, as a spouse, as somebody with a trade or profession, as an athlete, as a coach, whatever area of life that you or be functioning in. It's going to help you in all areas once you take that in. Because when you face a heart attack and you face a cancer and you arise in empowerment, that's it. Okay, so I'm going to just leave it open if there are any questions or comments that you have.
You have a very good attitude, I must say.
Well, yeah, that's the whole thing of the empowerment. The mind, this is what we've been talking about, has been the mind-body workout. And in my case, it's mind-body workout, which will enhance me spiritually, emotionally, and physically. Now, some people won't use the spiritual dimension if they don't have a belief in God. They don't have to use that. For me, I do, and it adds to the power of the thought. So I did that mind-body workout just using my hands, opening and closing it. I'm fine. I'm extremely grateful. My future is great. And I am being empowered spiritually, emotionally, and physically by this. I have a theory physically about the physical empowerment. At first I said, Lord, how can I be empowered physically? I mean, I'm getting cut open. I'm having this taken out. And I'll tell you a thought I have about how it works. I think that from an evolutionary point of view, a man is meant to be cut and gouged. Because if you look back 10,000 years ago, we were gouged and cut and fighting for survival. And the body is geared to offsetting organs being pierced and things being gouged out of us. And I believe that it will activate some kind of a power gene that will make me even stronger from it. Now, we see some cases that where a guy gets injured and then the bone gets thicker or better, or the muscle. Look at the muscle. We're breaking down muscle tissue. We're actually destroying it. And then the muscle builds up stronger and bigger. From an evolutionary point of view, is it possible? I won't say, I'll pose it as a question. Is it possible that it's healthy for us to be gouged? Loss of blood, loss of organs, damaged organs. Is it possible that that's empowering from an evolutionary point of view? That those that were not empowered by it died off. Those that were empowered by it flourished and their seed propagated itself. So possibly a power gene or more powerful survival gene has been activated in me. That's the question that I have about it. And I'm getting some clue. I had one feeling of tremendous power in my legs the other day, and we'll see if it happens. If I'm bench pressing 405 within the next year, it'll support the hypothesis. Okay, thanks. We'll just talk informally. You keep the camera going as we informally talk, yeah. You see now with yourself was athletes, personal trainers. Flora is not a personal trainer. You see any implication for yourselves directly?
Well, I do, because I'm always getting beat up, and I have to bounce back more. And sometimes I feel like, woe is me.
Yeah.
And I just feel like the weight is on my shoulders, and I got to do this again. But just hearing that, I mean, you have cancer. Yeah. Cancer is bigger than...
Well, I like to think I had cancer, but I'm hoping. Yeah, hopefully I got it all. But yeah.
You had cancer. I mean, that's life and death. Yeah. It makes you really focus on, I can still live, and I can beat this, and I can live a normal life. It's just greatens your perspective on what's really important. Yeah.
Now, I want to add something to that. Dr. Gershman has worked on Sammy Davis Jr., he's worked on Lou Gossett Jr., the Hollywood stars, he's worked on them. He's done a procedure 800 times, he does 3 a week. One of the interviews, I think it was with Sammy Davis, not Sammy Davis Jr., but Frank Sinatra Jr. I think he said, when he asked what it was like, he said it was just a minor inconvenience, and he went on. And that's a legitimate viewpoint. And the viewpoint of getting over and going on with a normal life again. That's a normal viewpoint. I'm not recommending a normal viewpoint. No, I don't want to just get on with my life again. I want to go back with business as usual ever again. Oh, no. I want to go far beyond anything that I had that was normal before. Far beyond what anything was happening in my life in terms of my compassion for my fellow human being, my compassion for myself, the love that I express, that's always yearned to come out, the light that's within me to shine through my eyes and my face, and the tremendous physical power to be released, far beyond what it was. So I don't want to go back to life as usual, business as usual, normalcy as defined before. No. That's not enough. I'm talking going a step way beyond that, of actually being empowered and saying, well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for this challenge. Thank you for all the benefits and the beauty and the tremendous upliftment that I'm receiving through this, in my case, through a prostate cancer, through whatever. Now, my PSA was low, so most likely the cancer was contained within the prostate gland, and presumably it's all gone, but we'll find out the details of that soon. But it looks very, very promising on that score. But then I have to say, well, I go to hope it's this way, I hope it's that way. It is what it is, and I'm thankful for whatever way it goes, because I know I will arise to it and be empowered. So that's an important point. I'm glad you said that. So when you say you get beat up, what kind of ways do you get beat up?
Once, just minor setbacks, through the rehab process. Sometimes you push a little too hard, then you get hurt again, hurt something else. So
you're going through rehab from what injury was that?
The car accident.
Oh, the car accident.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So it's constantly, little things here and there, and then sometimes you'll get to a point where you are better, and then you got to do the whole process over.
I would recommend for saying, do you like to use a spiritual one or without the spiritual?
I like to use the spiritual.
Okay. God, please empower me spiritually, emotionally, and physically from this process, this whole injury process. Thank you for empowering me spiritually, emotionally, and physically from this injury process. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's go. Thank you. Let's just go. Thank you for empowering me emotionally, spiritually, and physically from this injury process. Thank you for empowering me spiritually, emotionally, and physically from this injury process. Thank you for empowering me spiritually, emotionally, and physically from this injury process. Thank you for empowering me spiritually, emotionally, and physically from this injury process. Okay. So you want to get the exercise, do with it, because you want to be empowered by it.
Oh, I am. I'm ready to kill.
There you go. That's the whole idea behind it. So we'll meet next week at the usual time. Class at 12 next Monday.
That's very empowering. Like today, if I saw it, you just got to think no excuses. You have the choice. So it's really up to you how you handle it. No excuses.
No, that's one of the implications. What's worse to a personal trainer or a coach than hearing excuses from your people, or in a relationship hearing excuses, or from an employee hearing excuses, or whatever? No, we don't. There are times when there are legitimate reasons we couldn't accomplish something, but at the same time, it's better to arise above that and be empowered and expect. Now, again, once we say thank you for this empowerment, that's consolidating the thought. First we ask, and then we're grateful for it. The gratitude consolidates the thought that we're being empowered, that we are being empowered spiritually, physically, and emotionally.